Okay people, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a video about the modern pioneer of the carnivore diet and how he brought back the idea of carnivore diets to the West, to the brainwashed West, because as we know, ancestrally and naturally human beings thrive when they are on a carnivorous diet or a meat-based diet. So we're going to tell you a little bit about his story and how he came to this conclusion. So the man is called Vilhjalmur Stephenson, and he has wrote many books. He was basically somebody who explored the Arctic in the early 1900s. He was an anthropologist at Harvard before he left, he left to live with the Inuit, and he spent 11 years in the Arctic altogether adopting the Inuit lifestyle. So his journey, he had a very extensive journey. He went to even parts of the Arctic that the Inuit wouldn't go to. So he went even further than they did. They even thought he was crazy for doing that. But he wanted to find out, testing the limits of human beings, what they're capable of, what human beings should be eating, and how they should feel, how they should live naturally, which is really commendable, for someone to spend that long of their life going to a place that's so remote and, harsh conditions, food that you're probably not accustomed to. So it's very admirable what he did. He felt that his study should be conducted in the field. So he left Harvard in 1906 to join an Arctic expedition, and he ended up living about 11 years in the Arctic, adopting the Inuit way of life. So we're going to watch a quick little video from Vilhjalmur.
You finished your polar exploring, formally as it were, in 1918?
1918, yes.
Mm-hmm. Now, why did you never go back, Dr. Stephenson?
Well, it seemed to me that I wanted to try to dispel from the world the same misconceptions which I had of the Arctic when I went north.
Yeah.
I used to think that I was well informed on the Arctic before I went north, but I concluded eventually that out of 10 things that I believed about the Arctic before I went north, about 6 were wrong. I was about 60% either partly or wholly wrong, and during my first year in the Arctic, I kept a careful diary, and I'm now in disagreement with over half of what I wrote in my own diary.
Is that
Things
so?
that I thought I'd seen and the meanings that I deduced.
So that preconceptions affect everyone then?
Well, it did me.
Affect you. How long then does it take? How much experience does one have to have before you can see things as they are in the Arctic?
Well, it comes gradually. Your eyes are gradually. You see everything through the colored spectacles of your education you're bringing up.
Mm-hmm.
And the color of those spectacles fades only gradually. I think the very last year I was there, I was still being undeceived.
You still were?
If I had stayed longer, I could have unlearned still more.
Well, you're talking to someone now who is replete with all the standard prejudices. How long would it take me or anyone like me?
See, the key word he used there was unlearn, because in the Western world we're bombarded with all this information, hundreds and hundreds of pages of absolute nonsense, and you're told so many things. Science has advanced so far, and we've found out all this information that actually animal fat's really dangerous for you. Actually, this is a better alternative. Seed oils are really good, but we're told all these things. A balanced diet, you need fiber, you need this, you need that, but we're going to prove in this video why you don't need all those things, why they aren't optimal for human beings, and why you have to unlearn to actually relearn, or to learn something in the first place, because we're so brainwashed, we're so held down by this information that we would never know the truth, even if it was right in front of our faces. Okay, so we're going to get back to why did he go to the Arctic in the first place? What was the reason for him going there? We saw a little bit about him there, and he wanted to kind of challenge himself to break these social norms of diet, so one reason was going to challenge mainstream nutritional views. At the same time, the recommended healthy diet emphasized fruits, vegetables, grains, nuts, and low amounts of meat. This advice, Stephenson said, hadn't changed much into his time, which means it hadn't changed much even when he got back. And it's not changed much even now, 100 and odd years later. And this guy was essentially the pioneer of it all. He started this the earliest. He did his experiments before Weston A. Price, before the Pottinger's cats experiments. They probably built on what he started in the first place. So it's really interesting to learn about, considering I've taught you all about the other two people. Here is what he was studying. He was studying the Inuit. Obviously, these are a couple of pictures from his expeditions. And whether a human can stay healthy on a 100% meat-only diet without fruits, vegetables and carbohydrates. He was also studying if nutritional necessities like vitamin C from plants or calcium from dairy were actually wrong, and the long-term health effects, positive or negative, of eating animal foods only, including organ meats, fat, over periods of months to years. So we're going to watch a little bit more of this clip.
Now, this puts me in mind of one of your very well-known books, The Friendly Arctic. Friendly to whom?
It's friendly to anyone that's adapted to it. So, summers are very friendly to mosquitoes. The ocean is very friendly to seals, and they're very friendly to polar bears, and is friendly to a good hunter. A man who will put as much effort into becoming a good hunter as you need to become a good surgeon. Anybody who will do that and will then learn from the Eskimos. I mean, go to the Eskimos with the attitude of a learner. Anybody who has good eyesight and average common sense can be as competent and as comfortable as any Eskimo.
Isn't it the case, though, Dr. Stephenson?
So he's saying if you want to live like this, if you want to hunt, if you want to be proficient, you need to put as much hours into it as a surgeon would put into learning how to do a surgery. If you want to do anything right, you have to put enough time into it, enough effort, and you have to commit to it. Like he did, he committed to 11 years in the Arctic. He didn't have to, he just did it because he wanted to better humankind. He wanted to find out the real truth about what this life is and what we're supposed to be doing here, what we're supposed to be consuming. You know, are we supposed to be consuming grains, beans, vegetables, fruits? Is that really what is optimal for human beings? Okay, so we'll jump back in. That was only a short clip. We're just going to find out now what kind of food he ate. So he ate things like seal meat, whale meat, blubber, things like that. Fresh fish, mainly salmon, and he ate red meat as well, polar bear. I think seal kind of counts as red meat, but polar bears and other kind of creatures like that, caribou, etc. So living with the Mackenzie River Inuit, he found out his diet changed dramatically. He became completely dependent on them for food, which was primarily fish, specifically salmon. After 3 months he had adapted to the diet. He enjoyed boiled and baked fish, and he preferred the heads. He even became fond of raw fish and fermented whale oil. He initially avoided rotten fish and craved salt. So this is important. All these points are really important. Rotten fish was a delicacy to the Inuit, raw, cold, and often eaten like cheese. He had liked it better than his first taste of camembert, so he liked it better than fermented dairy. So he liked fermented rotten fish more than he did fermented dairy, which is most people's preference. Most people eat fermented dairy. They don't really realise that they're eating mouldy food, that they're eating rotten food, quote unquote rotten. It's not rotten, it's just, you know, they would perceive it that way. And over a 10-year span, Stephenson lived 5 years on meat only: fish, seal, polar bear, caribou, walrus, and more. His team consumed muscle, brain, bone marrow, but internal organs, giving them to the dogs. He did mention this. I'm not actually too sure why. I think in different cultures it's kind of different, but there they didn't consume a lot of the internal organs. I'm sure I've read through his works and he says a lot of times that he did consume internal organs, but maybe that was just every now and again. So we're going to watch another clip.
Anybody who will do that and will then learn from the Eskimos. I mean, go to the Eskimos with the attitude of a learner. Anybody who has good eyesight and average common sense can be as competent and as comfortable.
Skip to 1150.
Learn how to live out there.
Well, now this raises the whole question of food. Then, surely there's some. You yourself must have longed for a green vegetable once in a while.
Well, I did at first. My first experience was that a ship that was supposed to meet me didn't meet me, and I had to become a guest of the Eskimos. And for 4.5 months, I lived on literally nothing but fish and water. Well, we had some blubber, some polar bear blubber, but apart from that. And at the end of 4.5 months, I was healthier than I'd never been before. And enjoying every meal and feeling fine.
And this is on an exclusive meat diet.
That was exclusive fish in this case. I have since then spent more than 6 years on red meat. That is seal meat, caribou meat, muskox meat, polar bear, grizzly bear, and so on. You have to have fat with a lean. Lean and fat together make a perfect diet. A balanced diet.
Balanced diet.
Balanced diet. You have everything you need if you have both lean and fat. You don't have to eat any organs. That's a peculiar folklore.
Oh, is that
We
so?
feed the organs mostly to the dogs.
Oh, this is where your earlier comment about
So yeah, that's what I was saying. He said that they fed organs to the dogs, which is, depends which culture you're in, I suppose, but I'm not sure exactly on that, why they did that, but that's fine. I can enjoy my organs still, despite what he says about them. But yeah, we're going to go into significant observations from Vilhjalmur. This was a news article from when he returned to New York after his trip. So, Vilhjalmur Stephenson, which had been studying diets since 1913, the foundation announced that the only conclusion it could draw at this time was an all-meat diet was as satisfactory in New York as it was in the Arctic. So, that makes complete sense. You don't need to live in the Arctic. You don't need to be eating freshly hunted animals. You can still do this even in a city like New York, in a city that's busy and populated. And during 7 of the 11 years he spent in the Arctic, Stephenson lived entirely on meat. Eskimos who eat nothing but meat never have scurvy and have perfect health, he says. Another Arctic explorer, Carsten Anderson, on the all-meat diet since January 24, gained back during the latter part of the period a pound more than he lost in weight at first. Stephenson has lost about 9 pounds, but explains that he was 10 pounds overweight anyway. So this means that the carnivore diet, and when you're on a natural diet, it brings you back to your natural weight. Your base metabolic rate improves, your metabolism, your thyroid health improves, and you start to lose weight. If you're overweight, you start to put on weight. If you're underweight, it's kind of weird how it works so well. It's worked for me. I've gained weight on the same diet that a lot of people have lost weight on. It's not all about calories. Most of the time it's about your metabolic health. Most of the time it's about thyroid function. Most of the time you need to be actually absorbing all of the nutrients that you're taking in. You can pound back 5,000 calories of fiber and nonsense processed junk food, but you're not going to take in even 10-20% of that food because it's not digestible. It's not real food. You're not going to take nutrients from it, which is why you're still hungry after you eat all this food, which is why these cut-back restrictive diets, the diets where they're low-fat, high-carb, they don't work because they don't signal the hunger hormones. You're still starving afterwards because you've not got the right amount of nutrients, you've not got the right amount of fat to actually satiate your body, and then you're left feeling hungry all the time, which is why that is not sustainable. People talk about diets that are restrictive, quote-unquote, and say that's an eating disorder because you've got orthorexia, you refuse to eat anything processed. But it's just refusing to consume something that's literally not food, that is really bad for you. It's not going to serve you in any kind of positive way. So why would you eat it? This view that most people have on weight loss nowadays that, it's all about calorie counting, just count calories. People don't realize that it matters the amount of nutrients that's in the food as well, the amount of fat that is in the food, because that is what makes you feel satiated. It's what signals these hunger hormones and the satiety hormones like leptin and ghrelin. But when you disrupt these things by adding crazy amounts of sugar and preservatives and additives and fillers and all these other things, you start to crave things even when you're not hungry, and you start to feel hungry even when you're absolutely full up with fiber and full up with all these random foods. So that's exactly why this diet works the best for people who want to lose weight. So yeah, that was an article about Vilhjalmur, and we're going to talk about his significant observations. So after months of a fish-only diet, it convinced him that mainstream dietary views were wrong. I could be healthy on fish and water, I never got scurvy. He noted no signs of atherosclerosis, high blood pressure, kidney issues or rheumatism in the Inuit. 3 expedition members with scurvy were cured just using raw meat after getting sick from eating canned food. And thirdly, despite the claims that chewing keeps teeth and gums healthy, the soft Inuit diet proved otherwise. Raw meat is very soft, despite what most people think. You can tear it and stuff like that, but they don't even eat it that way. They like to cut it into small pieces, and I reckon that they don't really chew that much. It's really soft, raw meat. You don't actually need to chew it as much as you think you do. He noted that the Inuit didn't get scurvy, likely due to raw or lightly cooked meat having enough vitamin C. And people would say, there's no vitamin C in meat. What are you talking about? Well, let me explain. So, vitamin C enters cells through 2 main routes. One route is specific to vitamin C transporters. They are dedicated systems that move vitamin C directly into cells. The second route uses transporters that move glucose into cells. This matters because glucose and vitamin C compete with each other for access. Okay? Vitamin C enters cells through 2 main routes. So this means ascorbic acid, vitamin C and glucose share a close structural similarity, which leads to competition for transport across cell membranes. Specifically, the oxidized form of vitamin C, dehydroascorbic acid, or DHA, this is transported by facilitative glucose transporters, while the reduced form, Ascorbic acid uses sodium-dependent transporters. DHA is structurally similar to glucose and enters cells through GLUT1, GLUT3 and GLUT4 because they share the same binding sites. High levels of glucose can competitively inhibit the uptake of DHA. So this is how it works. We have ascorbic acid and DHA. This is oxidation that causes this, the glucose transporter that takes it through the cells, and this is the sodium dependent transporter. This leads to a reduction in DHA absorption because the glucose is competing with the DHA to be absorbed, which is why you need to consume higher amounts of vitamin C when you're consuming sugar, which is why it's in such high amounts in fruit, because you actually don't get most of it, you don't absorb and utilize most of it in the first place if you're consuming raw meats, especially raw organs, raw milk, raw liver. They have very acute amounts of vitamin C, but you don't need to actually work as hard to be able to absorb that vitamin C, which is how you can cure scurvy only eating meat alone. So moving on to his return, what happened when he returned to New York City? Did he carry on? Did he keep doing his diet? Like, did he change anything? So yeah, at 79, Stephenson credits his vigor to a diet of meat. And then this was an article about him, New York, March 22. After 3 weeks on an all-meat diet, Vilhjalmur Stephenson, Arctic explorer, declares he feels more optimistic, ambitious and energetic, as he ascribes this to his dietary experiment. When he started the experiment in February 26, he felt lackadaisical on getting up in the morning, but now he feels like jumping out of bed and getting right to work, which is so obvious. Like, if you eat this way, you are going to perform better in life. You are just going to be more energetic. You're going to have more natural energy, more long-term consistent energy instead of spiking and crashing all the time because you're eating so much sugar that your system is just working overtime. Your insulin production is just like spiking. Eventually you're going to end up in a really bad situation if you don't adapt your diet now. You don't become fat adapted and start using fat as your primary fuel source. So a lot of talking, I understand. Stephenson began writing books and articles to share his Arctic experiences and challenge the conventional thinking of nutrition and exploration. These are some of his books here. You can read that if you would really like to. In the late 1920s, Stephenson and colleague Anderson submitted a year-long meat diet study at Bellevue Hospital in New York City. Stephenson stayed in the hospital for 3 weeks and Anderson for 13, both under 24/7 observation. After that, they reported regularly for checkups. At the end of the year, no ill health effects. Both were healthy. Look at that. Who would have thought meat only, even in New York City, is really healthy? What are these health benefits that you may see? You know, both were healthy, it says there, but what health benefits may you see from eating a meat-based diet? So I think this probably should have been more in the observation section, but it's really interesting nonetheless. So a lean, low-fat diet caused illness like diarrhea, seen in early studies and also among the Inuit. So when you are eating too much lean meat without fat, it really disrupts the balance, it disrupts digestion, it actually affects things a lot, which is why you see on these pages like Carnivore Cringe, which vegans love to point out, oh look, it's Carnivore Cringe. People who go on carnivore diet, they have all these issues like diarrhea and constipation and this and that. It's because they do it wrong. It's because they don't eat enough fat. When you go to see these people like the Inuit, like the Sami tribes, like these Northern European tribes and North American tribes, they all eat at least 70% of their calories from fat. That's where they get most of their calories from, up to 80 or even 90%. They're eating whale blubber, seal blubber, polar bear blubber, like he was saying. All these kind of fats, rich fats, you know, things that you would be told, oh my God, it's going to cause heart disease. Oh my God, don't eat all that fat because it's really going to make you ill. Even though, you know, these people live to 70, 80, 90, 100 plus in minus 35 conditions. We're told, oh, it's really dangerous. It's really dangerous for you. You're going to get heart disease. And obviously, Vilhjalmur Stephenson went to the Arctic and he realized that all these people didn't have heart disease. They weren't dropping like flies like we are nowadays. So yeah, here's another interesting one, which I got a lot of pushback recently on one of my reels. Anderson had no flatulence the entire year. So his partner Anderson said he had no flatulence, he weren't farting anymore because he wasn't consuming fibre. Who would have thought? I wasn't lying. Literally, I wasn't lying. Look, don't shoot the messenger. I'm not the guy to attack on this one. Even somebody who studied this diet extensively for over 10 years Tells you exactly what happens. No flatulence the entire year. Chemical analysis showed low calcium intake, but no ill effects. That's really interesting as well. Stephenson pointed to analysis of ancient Arctic people's bones showing perfect bone health, which is what Weston A. Price showed, which is what Pottinger's cats showed as well. The same thing. Over the last however many thousand years of farming, our skulls have got really small. We have become very underdeveloped. We have more osteoporosis. We have more developmental issues. We have more people who have recessed faces and low bone mass, things like that. So meat also provides vitamin D and K2 essential for bone health, nearly absent in plant foods. Their year-long meat diet included beef, lamb, veal, pork, chicken, muscle, liver, kidney, brain, marrow, fat. They ate as much as they wanted to, adjusting lean fat ratio freely. So essentially this is all showing that they didn't have any problems, they had no issues, and they could just trust their body and eat exactly what they wanted to do. And when they wanted to eat more fat, they ate more fat. When they wanted to eat more lean, they ate more lean. This is the most important part about this diet. Listen to your body. That's the important thing to do. Don't listen to people online who are telling you this, this, and this, and then you go and do it yourself, and it's completely different to what they've told you. Do you know what I mean? They're trying to tell you that your digestion's going to be shot, you're going to be being constipated or have diarrhea, or you're going to, have all these health issues. You need fiber for digestion. You need this. You need that. But you don't. You don't need any of these things because they are so useless. They are literally useless. And I'm going to tell you now why you don't need fiber. So why does fat do a better job than fiber in the first place? So when fat enters the gut, it triggers a bile release from the liver and gallbladder. It is one of the primary detox tools. Bile binds to toxins, excess hormones, bacterial waste, and soluble pollutants, and carries them out of the body through the stool. So most people don't know this. They think bile is just for digesting fats or digesting food, but it's not. It does a lot more than that. So fiber does not stimulate bile release in the same way. Fat also slows digestion in a controlled manner, allowing more complete nutrient absorption and reducing irritation to the gut lining. Fiber can increase stool bulk, which is obvious. It's what they tell you. Bulk up your stool. Send these foods through. Help you digest your food. But that doesn't work like that because it can cause mechanical irritation, gas, fermentation byproducts, and people with sensitive or inflamed guts can see all sorts of problems like leaky gut, IBD, IBS, whatever you want to call it, all kinds of digestive issues in the long term. And this is shown so many times that fiber actually causes these problems because we don't have the system to be able to deal with it, especially in the amounts that they talk about you consuming it. They say, oh, you need to eat more fiber. They seem like fiber is the only thing that can solve your problem, even though it's the indigestible part of a plant, the part that we can't consume because we don't have the system for it. It's obvious. I've explained it a million times. We have very short, long intestine lengths compared to the body. We have also very, very low acidic pH stomach. We don't have a cecum. We don't have a very long intestine. It's really quite short compared to herbivorous animals. Some herbivorous animals have an intestine to body length ratio of over 40 or 50, That's how long their intestines are inside their body compared to their body length. In carnivores, dogs, I think it's 5 times the length, and cats it's 3 times, and human beings are somewhere in the middle. So all of our physiology proves that we are literally carnivorous animals and we don't need fiber to survive. So another argument for fiber is it produces short chain fatty acids in the colon. So they're often attributed to fiber fermentation, but they are also produced efficiently when the gut lining is nourished by fats. Butyrate, the most important short chain fatty acid for colon health, is preferentially produced and used by the body. And where do you think butyrate is most likely found? It's found in abundance in butter. That's where it's found in abundance, in butter. That's where you get most of actual butyrate from, butyric acid. So in a fat-based metabolic state, colon cells can directly use fatty acids and ketones for energy, reducing reliance on fiber fermentation. When you actually start to use fat effectively, you don't need the fiber anymore. It literally forgoes the need for any fiber whatsoever. Moving on, how does this affect me? Like, how is this going to affect the way I look? How is it going to affect the way I feel? And how can I replicate the transformations that I see here? How can I go from looking like this to looking like this, reducing all the inflammation in the face, reducing bloating around the stomach area, and just excess stubborn fat, water retention in the face, things like that gets reduced over time when you eat a natural human diet. The same thing here, water retention in the face, makes his facial structure look completely different. So even if you're not changing the bones, you're changing the tissue that is on top of the bones, and it just makes you look so much more healthy and look masculine. Like, he looks really low testosterone here. He looks like he's very tired and low energy, and here he just looks younger. He looks more alive and more, you know, like a human being. Here again, this is Gigi. Gigi had an insane transformation here because, look, you can see her skin quality was pretty bad. Her eye area there isn't the best. You know, you can see there's a lot of upper eyelid exposure. Here you can see there's a massive difference in Gigi's face. You can see all the inflammation has cleared up, all of the redness, all of the spots. The eye area there is completely changed. Look, the same thing here. Look, eye area again changed, bone structure changed. You can quite clearly see inflammation in the face. Same thing, low inflammation when you switch to this diet. Same thing again, round face, more structured face, clear skin, you know, better colouring, everything. So everything that you might need to actually look healthy, to improve your biomarkers, getting rid of dark eye circles, as you can see there. You know, same thing every time. It's always the same kind of results, but just reframed for every different person. So how do you achieve this? It's a raw meat based diet, high fat, 70+% calories from fat, organ meats and low carb, alignment with nature's rhythms, so grounding, circadian health, 10k steps and air quality. These are the fundamentals that we talk about in our community. Obviously we have so much information out there, but these are just the fundamentals that we tell people to follow. The first things that you've got to do when you get into the community are follow these ideals, these fundamentals here, and also the removal of toxins, particularly ultra processed foods, synthetic personal care products and plant foods. So this is the foundations that you build your diet upon, and you will get a transformation like the people up here. So I'm going to take you quickly into the community. So this is our community. If you didn't know, this is how the app works. This is called School. We have a classroom with all of our information in there, you know, sourcing, YouTube recommendations, nutrition myths, hormones, muscle movement, gut-brain axis, chest growth for the women. We have a 3-week fasting and feasting protocol, which is what most people join our community for. It teaches you how to become fat adapted, how to trust your body and fast effectively and healthily. Most people would promote fasting alongside low-fat diets and things like that, and they would end up really harming themselves, their hormonal health, maybe their skin health, maybe the hair ends up falling out or something like that because they're not eating enough nutrients. And what most people don't realize is that if you are fasting and doing these things, you need to have enough in your storage to be able to run off of. If not, you're going to take nutrients from your organs, from your fat, from all different kinds of places. You're going to take minerals out of your hair, out of your teeth, out of your eyes. So what happens is the internal systems of your body are competing to receive these nutrients, and the most important parts of your body are your organs, especially your brain. Your brain is the most selfish, so it will take nutrients from every single other part of the body. Then the organs come next. So if the organs are compromised and damaged, your body is in survival mode, then it will steal minerals, nutrients from every single part of your body that is not essential, like your hair, like your teeth. You can live without teeth. You can also live without your reproductive organs. So what it does is it realizes, oh my God, this guy's in survival mode. He needs immediate nutrients to his organs because they're failing. So what it does is takes these nutrients from parts of the body that are not needed for immediate survival and uses them in the places that it needs to. Yeah, we also have weekly live Q&As, which are backdated to June. So we've got literally so many backdated things with presentations on everything. This is a presentation on salt. If you want to have a quick look through this, I'll just take you through why you should take everything, why you shouldn't take everything with a pinch of salt, sorry. Is salt really necessary? Osmosis, why water matters, stress. So if you want to read this, you know, you've got some free game from me. If you think salt is healthy, then maybe have a little read of this and see if you change your mind. But so obviously the community is not just information, it's actually people who make a difference. This community is built on these kind of people who apply these methods and literally show everybody in the world that it's obtainable for every single different person. We've got people from all over the world, all different kinds of builds, men, women, all doing the same thing, and it works every single time seamlessly. So only 8 days in, so he's talking about the 3-week protocol, only 8 days into the 3-week protocol, and already 12 pounds down. So I just wanted to share how things were going in the 3-week protocol, and they're going splendid, feel insanely sharp, very energetic, all round very good. Currently 5'6", 203 pounds. My skin is feeling amazing as well. So Caleb has lost all of this weight, 12 pounds in 8 days. That is insane. 12 pounds in 8 days, and he's not compromised his overall long-term health. He feels better than he's ever felt. He feels insanely sharp, energetic, and his skin is clear. So all of this fasting and all this meat-based diet, low sugar and things like that, it doesn't actually affect you in a bad way. It only has positive benefits, as you can clearly see. So yeah, if you want to do this, if you want to join our community and find out what the hype is all about, then you need to have a look in the description. I'll leave a link down there for you. And if you enjoyed this video and you want more videos like this, leave a like, comment, subscribe, tell me what I can do better, tell me what I did well. But other than that, thanks for watching.